Hello, and welcome back to 100 Days of Clarity. Today is day 2, and it is as optional as a day as you're going to get for this entire series. As I wrapped up both parts of the day 1 series, we made sure to install everything that you'll absolutely need to go through the course. What we're going to cover today is just a second part of installing, and I hope it doesn't go over more than 10 minutes, because again, there will be some points in time where we end up using the tool that we download today. So it is worth downloading. However, we don't use it too frequently. So again, learning is something that's very contingent on momentum, and so the more momentum we can get, the earlier the better. So if you're excited to go ahead and get cranking with Clarity and you don't even want to install anything, feel free to just go on to day 3 and kick off, or if not, stick around. I'll try to make this as short as possible. Today, what we're going to install are 2 different things. So one of them is called Node, or Node.JS, and I don't want to be too technical in the terms here, so I'm just going to make it as high level as possible. Again, these are things I'm not an expert at. I'm just explaining them so that you have some concept of why you're downloading this. Okay, the Stacks blockchain is obviously in production, and as you can imagine, there are a couple APIs that let you work with, or let you query, or work with the Stacks blockchain using an API directly. Obviously, that comes very in handy, not just for doing simple operations like generating a private key locally, or maybe querying to get the history of a principal or something of that sort. It's actually extremely useful because it allows us to also deploy contracts or even make contract calls and then just sign with a private key. So essentially, using APIs, you can connect with the Stacks blockchain. Now, most of these APIs and most of the technology and infrastructure that's built around Stacks exist in the JavaScript world. Why? Because most of the tool sets for accessing a blockchain are built for a browser primarily. And so with that in mind, what we need to install first is we need to install some package manager that makes it very easy to interface with common JavaScript APIs or common JavaScript libraries. You already saw that we installed the package manager brew to install Clarinet. Right now, we're going to install Node.js, which, and again, I want to keep things at a high level because we're going to go to the site and you can read there directly, but Node.js is a way of bringing, a lot of backend, it's a way of bringing JavaScript to a backend, and so if you want to, work in JavaScript in the entire stack, Node.js is usually what you'll work with. From Node, there's something called the Node Package Manager, or NPM. And NPM is where a plethora of JavaScript libraries exist, including the one we're going to download today. The one we're going to download is called Stacks CLI. As you can imagine, it is a package manager that allows us from the terminal to interact with the Stacks blockchain on mainnet directly. So yeah, as you can imagine, an extremely powerful tool. And if you want to get the most out of this course, I highly recommend you go ahead and download this today. So let's go ahead and open it up, or go ahead and turn to the computer. And as usual, again, I'm starting from a computer that I have no idea what or if Node's install here. So we're gonna open up our terminal, because again, whenever you want to implement, or whenever you want to install things locally, especially something like a local package manager, you're going to do it from the terminal. Let's go ahead and open Google Chrome, and first we're going to go ahead and in the search box we're going to look for Node.js install. Cool. Okay, open source, cross-platform JavaScript runtime environment, which was most definitely not what I said. But if you look that up, you should get to the installation, for the computer that you need, Mac OS. Cool, we're going to download. And as you can see, we're getting some messages here. Install, etc., etc. Yep, good. And that should be it, relatively pain-free. You can check whether it's installed by actually going to the terminal. And I think if we type in node-v, -v is usually what you can use to check the version of, a local package. Okay, v18.13.0, awesome. So implementing Node was relatively pain-free. So now that we have Node installed, we can now use npm, the Node package manager, to install packages that, again, have JavaScript or are made with intention of connecting with, other JavaScript libraries, and so it's where we'll be able to get the Stacks CLI tool. Okay, and I guess just for my own curiosity, I type in npm-v. I think Node comes with npm out of the box now. Okay, cool, it does. All right, really simply now, we're going to look up at stacks/CLI. And awesome. As you see, the first result back here at stacks CLI-npm, exactly what we're looking for. And even better, we also see stacks CLI hero docs right here. So we're going to go ahead and click into them as well. Awesome. This website that we're seeing here, npmjs.com, is basically where you can find search, etc., all Node packages. And here we see some information about it, including how to install it. Really simply, npm, obviously Node package manager, I for install, and then at stacks CLI. And even better, hero gives us the documentation here. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and install it. And as you can see, hero here gives us a tip to add a -g flag so that this command is available globally. So I'm going to go ahead, go back to the terminal, and let's just try that. npm install, or again, we're just going to type I, because I think that should work. I-g at stacks/CLI. All right, and we have something happening here. Okay, while this installs, we might as well start looking at the documentation. Okay. Again, word of warning here. I made this video optional because while Node isn't necessarily hard to use, setting it up, and especially the first time you use a library, can be very frustrating because you might need a bunch of other dependencies or a bunch of other Node packages that you didn't know you needed. So of course we got an issue here, so let's see what happens. npm install new major version, okay. access syscall mkr permission denied. Okay, you do not have the permission to access this file. Okay, so the issue we're getting here, it sounds like it's related to permission and to not being the root or administrator. If you recall in the last video, we got a command that popped up to enter a password, and it said sudo, etc., etc. Whenever you want to run a command as an administrator in your terminal, you need to prepend the statement with sudo. And that should give you permission to run the statement that you're about to run as an admin, and it'll likely ask you for your password. So let's do that again, but with sudo in the beginning. Sudo npm install globally at stacks/CLI. Password. Okay. And now we have a lot more happening. Again, do not be discouraged if we get a bunch more issues. I kind of half expect it. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. I think that might have worked. So that's super exciting. Especially because we're only at 10 minutes in. So we have around 4 minutes to just play around with this tool set. So this is going to be super helpful. Again, if you are watching this video, you are installing this, please let me know in the comments if you do run into any issues, and hopefully I can help you. Because again, the hardest part about learning how to program isn't necessarily really the logic. Literally, as long as you can use Excel or something effectively, like you understand basic programming logic. The frustrating part comes from this: setting up an environment, running into issues you don't know how to debug, etc. So, cool. Now that that is installed, let's go ahead and look at the documentation. And again, I want to make it clear. Clarinet is a package that lets you run a local instance of, a Stacks environment and lets you deploy a contract locally, etc. It's obviously not live. It's not an actual blockchain. It's not on testnet. It's not on mainnet or anything of that sort. The @Stacks CLI tool we just installed is what you use when you do want to interact with mainnet or testnet directly from your terminal. So again, these are two distinct tools, and I want to make it clear that for 99.5% of the course, we just need Clarinet. There's only, I think, a couple days where we use this tool set, and we primarily use it, if I recall, to test deploying contracts and to show you guys how you can deploy a contract or call a function from the terminal. Okay, well, because that tends to be extremely useful, right? At the end of the day, there's not always a guarantee that client side or front ends will be fully functioning. And if you want to be an effective Clarity developer, you need to be able to do things from the terminal. So that being said, let's look at this documentation, see if we see anything interesting. We scroll down, network selection, account. Okay, so this is interesting. And I guess before we get into that, just like how you saw when we want to run a function in the terminal that uses Clarinet, we started with Clarinet. Whenever you want to use a function that calls the Stacks library, you appropriately start with Stacks. First things first, whenever you're dealing with any package, so this is going to work for both Clarinet or Stacks, if you ever want to look at all the functions that exist, you probably only need to type the name of the library and then help. So we're going to go ahead and type in Stacks help. Cool. And as you can see, it spat out a bunch of different topics and then functions within. And just right here, it's going to be really exciting because check this out. We have account management, authentication, ID management, CLI, Gaia, key management, namespace operations, etc. The really exciting stuff is almost all in account management. And check this out. We can get balance. We can call a contract function from this terminal. We can deploy a contract from this terminal, etc. And again, this is not locally like Clarinet. This is to mainnet. So one cool function that I like using here is, or one of my favorite ones, and just to test things out for the next 2 minutes, I'm gonna call it time. Let's try in key management, which obviously stands for private keys. Let's try make keychain, which is what you want to do when you want to spin up a new address, a new wallet, or a new principal is an appropriate term. Stacks make underline or underscore keychain. And check this out. It spits out this tuple of information, such as the mnemonic phrase, which again is basically your private key, and then your key info, your actual private key, your public key, your your Stacks address and a Bitcoin address. Because remember, Stacks is anchored and secured by the Bitcoin blockchain. So this is how you spin up an address that is connected to both, a Stacks address and a Bitcoin address. And again, this is actually a real address. So if you wanted to send Stacks, for example, which, by the way, you can send Stacks from this terminal. Let me see. Yeah, send tokens right here. You can use this address. So this is a real address that you can now, you could use however you'd like. And I think that's... Now we're going to end it with one more. Let's try getting the balance of something. So first, I don't know what the syntax for balance is in account management. So I'm just going to type in Stacks space balance with the assumption that the terminal is going to give me the right syntax. Which it does. Right here it says, blah, 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 failed validation, command balance usage balance address, and great. Here it even gives us an example. So let's go ahead and we're going to go to the block explorer. And again, you can find this by just going to Google and look up Stacks block explorer. And we're literally just going to pick a random address. So let's look at the last block, confirmed. Let's look at this transaction. We see right here, Stacks balance 18.48 blah, blah, blah to this address. We're going to copy that, go back to our terminal and just run Stacks balance and paste that address. Awesome. And in case you noticed, it's not 18.4384, but those integers do show up 184384. I'm gonna get into why that looks different in a little bit. But for now, the exciting part is I just wanted to show you guys how you could now, and how you just did, interact with the Stacks blockchain through your terminal. So congratulate yourselves. Again, today I want to keep it light and simple, so gonna move on. Come back tomorrow, and we are gonna start our actual journey of programming with Clarity. So, thank you.